So we have Miriam, yes. So Ute, and we have Chloe. No, we have Austin who's going to replace Chloe because Chloe had to rush off to catch her flight. So thanks, Austin. So I'm not going to introduce any the rest of you, but maybe a quick word about Austin. Austin has been our partner representing NPI, non-profit incubator in Shanghai, based in Shanghai and in Beijing. And it's really like the expert organization on non-profit and social enterprise development in China. So we were very pleased to have the opportunity to get Austin on board. And Alain is in fact our project coordinator. But he's not only that, I mean, he loves to do research as well. And in fact, now he's exploring opportunities of how to take Seforïs and our survey agenda to the Middle East, Lebanon. So let's hope that works out. So without further ado, I'd like to invite every one of you present here to reflect on, what was interesting about the day, maybe things that you found particularly interesting to take back home to Lebanon, China, Germany, UK, and if time permits, perhaps also if you have an idea of what was a particularly inspiring moment that may trigger ideas for future research agenda, that is also welcome. Yeah, and shall I start with Alain?
Okay. Yeah. So it will take 2 minutes. I actually, in this kind of conference, I like to listen to what entrepreneurs say, and I know that, and I feel that it's inspiring for us to think further in terms. But may I have 4 points. First one, the importance of demystifying innovation. To stop seeing innovation as this light bulb thing that comes on your head, and instead, it's not an easy thing. It's a process. You have to think about it. It's something that sometimes happens by mistake, but lots of time it's well thought, and it's not about it's not about the final result, but it's about the process and the learning that you do doing that. And something particular about social entrepreneurs that we've seen in the research and we know about, but today also we heard it a couple of times, and I like that, is that Noemi, who said people with disability have abilities, and then Indy, who looks at the ethnicity as a strength instead of a weakness. So we can see that only social entrepreneurs can see such opportunities instead of seeing them as weaknesses or markets that we do not want to target, but instead see them as an opportunity and to be inclusive and to while benefiting from this perspective. Then the idea of experimentation. So don't wait for the perfect idea. Don't wait for a perfect model. Experiment it and learn in the process, and maybe with that you can advance your initiative, your ideas, and then so it's about this iteration, about this learning process. And finally, context is important. I think it was Richard who says global patterns, local realities, and this is important. So yes, we have lots of things that we can learn from Seforïs, but also you have to know your context and put all these initiatives in context and be able to see the opportunities. And for that, you are the only ones who can do it, since you are so embedded in your communities. I think you have the insights to do that.
Perfect. Thanks, Alain. That's very short and concrete. Maybe I pass to Ute, please.
Okay. I think the biggest and most encouraging takeaway from me today, and I really enjoyed today, the mix of academics and exchange with social entrepreneurs and social entrepreneur support organization, and the sentence, "Thank God I'm not alone." So that as a practitioner, you find it valuable just to hear from us how we describe patterns and try to synthesize insights across countries, contexts, and make sense of it. And that was, for me personally, super rewarding. So thank you, and thank you for repeating that sentence. And then I think what was really encouraging to see is that we're arriving at a much more nuanced perspective. So from innovation is good to innovation can be good if it's done in a certain way. but also, and the same is actually true for many other things. So governance, so the idea, it would be good to have inclusive governance and have beneficiaries on the board. Well, we heard one example that because you have a limited space for one beneficiary, maybe that's not the ideal solution. And also for finance, that more finance isn't always better, or how Ramazan said this morning, public money is a prison. So I do like these sound bites and these takeaways, and they really encourage us to kind of think in a very nuanced manner about the subjects we research. And I think that's a good thing because we're getting closer to reality. And the same, I think, goes. The next step for social entrepreneurship research perhaps is also then to recognize more the diversity among social enterprises. So that was another thing that struck me today that was perhaps more implicit, but not just the range of sectors social enterprises work in, but also the range of approaches from a much more explicitly social model that's perhaps more closer to an NGO to a model that's more closer to a business, and kind of more a B Corp model, and combines business with an explicit purpose. And I think that's important, and I think it's important to recognize that we need this diversity. If we learned one thing from ecology, is that diverse systems are much more robust to shocks, and I think that's true for our entire economy. We need to build an economy that's not dominated just by large for-profit companies, but by a variety of organizational forms, including non-profits, including social enterprises that have a non-profit streak, to for-profit businesses that pursue social missions. And I think, I'm hoping that we can do more research around that.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to keep going. Miriam, can you share with us some of your insights, please?
Yeah, well, I will also keep it very short for me. The most interesting and also most exciting insight from today was that actually most of the different representatives here from academia and from practice, and also the policymakers, pretty much were aligned on what the challenges are and what we're trying to create together as a field. And I actually think that what we've been talking about today in terms of how collaboration can help social enterprises as organizations to grow is it's the same for the field of social entrepreneurship in countries and Europe in general, that aligning the effort between academics and practitioners and policymakers can really benefit the sector as a whole.
Okay, great. Then, last but not least, Aston, please.
I think reflecting on today, I come back to the name for this conference, which it's insights from and for social entrepreneurs, global patterns, local realities. And I remember we chose this name 6 months ago, and we're just like, oh, that sounds good. That's really, I think, what we want. But I think at the end of the day, I'm really actually struck by, how this conference to me lived up to a large extent this name. And I'm going to just address both separately. So first, I think the importance of insights from and for social entrepreneurs, and that research is a two-way field. And MPI, of course, is not an academic organization. We are a platform that supports social entrepreneurs. I think what's really struck me about this, what makes Seforïs different from other academics we've encountered who are researching social enterprises, is just the importance that is put on the practice-driven research, that we need to be doing something that is relevant, not only for policymakers, but also for practitioners. And just the sensitivity of the principal investigators. One point I told them, yes, this translation we were supposed to have done in 2 months, we need 6 months for it, sorry, and the sensitivity, okay, if that's what needs to be done to make this useful, to make this, it's so this is, I think, something that really makes Seforïs special. I think also the international aspect today was amazing, in a round table to be working with social entrepreneurs from Africa, China, and Sweden, all at the same time. And I think that in a lot of these conferences, it's really difficult to actually get the voice of the practitioners in. You have kind of very loud academics and investors and policymakers, and sometimes the voice of the practitioners gets drowned out. So it's really special that I think today we kind of were able to elevate that a little bit. I think the second thing is this global patterns, local realities. I think what most people want to know when they hear that I work that I'm from China. I'm actually obviously not Chinese, although MPI is a very grassroots Chinese organization. It's kind of coincidence that I'm the only foreign person out of 230 employees, so it's a coincidence that I'm not Chinese. But what people want to know is what is different about China. You know, how is China different? What is this special thing? And I think that there are differences, key differences, but also similarities. And I think that this global patterns, local realities really kind of sums this up, because I think that there's some key points that are very similar. Hannah from Unlimited was talking about this missing middle. In the US, a lot of people call it the social capital gap or the social capital chasm. And this is a huge problem in China. But at the same time, the numbers are different. In the US, we're talking about, this gap is from 10 to 20 million US in annual revenues. In China, it's from, $100,000 to maybe, $1 million. So it's the numbers are quite different. The scales, the individual context, in everything is quite different. But some of the key problems and challenges are very similar. And I think it's a really great opportunity that Seforïs is a great opportunity for Chinese social entrepreneurs and European social entrepreneurs to, share experiences and learn from each other.
Well, thank you, Aston. You almost make me sad. It sounds like we're almost done with the project, which we are. And as you can tell, we're going to be all very sad because it's been a really great journey, and this whole international viewpoint and you opening up our eyes to the Chinese realities has been incredibly exciting. And I think what has been special today for us is to be able to show some global patterns as we learn them, as we can draw them from global data, the data that we've collected meticulously. I mean, there's people here who have actually been phoning around. I mean, we've all sweated a lot to get this data collection done. And so we're really proud to be able to share some first patterns. And I hope that as a practitioner, that kind of gives it's useful to sort of benchmark your own country against other countries. And it's just, you should know that that's the material that we're going to be crunching and that we hope Anne will be using in her future decisions around policymaking. And at the same time, I hope you've also enjoyed listening to some of the more detailed cases, the cases that Joanna brought up, some very practical tools, like the experimental tools that we've tried to bring forward so that you can sort of go back to your daily routines and daily realities, but also inspired by some vocabulary, some perspectives, some lenses that you can actually immediately kind of implicitly, explicitly follow through. So I'm not supposed to say this yet, but I do, because Ute will not let us do this afterwards. But I already would like to thank Ute, because she will thank the rest. But I want to thank Ute, and of course Ina and Emma as well, for this really fantastic day. I think it's been a great opportunity for us to engage, to learn from you, and thank you for all of you for being still here and coming out here from London, etc. So, but I do still hand it over to Ute.
Thank you very much. Yes, so Ina, could you please come up? So the conference would literally not have been possible without her, because Ina, even though she didn't get to speak today, has basically silently spent, ever since she started her job at Aston University in August, she spent all her time on this conference. So please, can you join me and give her a really big applause? And also, because Emma already got the bottle, but I also want to thank Emma just one more time, because Emma has done all the organization before Ina came and has been so, such a lovely colleague as usual and so super helpful. So please give also a big applause for Emma. Okay, and with this, you will be most delighted to hear that you are relieved. So I do hope you'll join us still for a relaxing drink. So the drinks are going to be served over at the bar. And so maybe we just have a time to chat and kind of, it doesn't have to be about social enterprise, but it can be. Thank you so much for coming.